Ladies and gentlemen, it is a tradition of the last Crime Prevention Conference, the 18th Crime Prevention Day, and its partners have one topic, more prevention, fewer victims. And there will be a declaration, which is this time called the Bielefelder Erklärung. Eric Marx has pointed out that the declaration is on the internet already. You can read it there. So I will only concentrate on the four most important points first. The situation of empirical knowledge about victimization and needs of victims is not satisfactory. After 25 years of working with victims in society, science, criminal law and prevention, the empirical knowledge about the victims of crime and their needs is heavily unsatisfactory. This goes particularly for later developments and findings. The German Crime Prevention Conference demands that the perpetrator-oriented criminal statistics should be broadened by victim statistics. The number of unreported cases of victimization should be cleared up by representative nationwide comprehensive surveys of victims, and to find findings of the consequences of victimizations and the needs and desires of victims. Against the background of the highest possible autonomy of victims, it is indispensable to understand the needs of victims and to involve them and their needs in criminal law. Second, it is unclear whether the work with victims really does very much for the victims of crime, because there's no data on that. It is not clear whether the laws have reached their goal to protect the victims against harm in criminal procedures. So we demand to evaluate the victim protection laws, especially the measures such as video hearings in court and how they are implemented in practical life, and the extent to which victims make use of their rights of victims. We also demand a quantitative and qualitative criminological, victimological survey of what needs and wishes victims have with a view to the criminal proceedings, and what stresses they're under because of that criminal proceeding. Evidence-based criminal policy needs a sustainable database, which we urgently need. The German Crime Prevention Day calls for, as a matter of fact, that the wishes of the victims of recompensation, financial and other, recognition of the injustice they have suffered, these wishes must be fulfilled. Third, appreciation and help for the victims must come from outside of the criminal authorities. Criminal authorities can basically not do justice to the needs of victims. Emotional support, social support, including the recognition that they have suffered injustice, appreciation and assistance must be there for all victims, and it must come from outside of the criminal law authorities, from the people around them and near them, and victim assistance organizations. The German Crime Prevention Days appreciates the work of these associations for the victims of crime. They see a need to do more for especially two groups of victims. One, the victims of crime outside of violence-related crimes, such as burglaries. They need more attention than they have hitherto seen. And for the largest group of violence-related crimes, which is male young people, they are victimized most often, but victim assistance organizations hardly ever reach them, and if so, in an unsatisfactory way. this is not just a matter of justice, but there is also the status change of victim and perpetrator. That is the risk that a victim becomes a perpetrator, which is a risk for all of society. It should also be checked if it makes sense to do more for the victims in the sense of parallel justice. Professor Pfeiffer will say something about that later, so I won't have to go into detail here. Fourth, prevention is the best victim protection. Even if criminal procedures are good for can help victims, but the best idea is not to even let them happen. Because even if you have a very victim-friendly criminal procedures and the related acts, even if you have all the assistance for victims, most of the time what happened to the victims cannot be undone and cannot be fully compensated. So criminal prevention, in the sense of preventing crime, is the best protection for victims. The German Crime Prevention Day demands to carry on with the efforts done until now, to base them on empirical evidence, to avoid re-victimization and secondary victimization, not to stir up unnecessary fear, and also make sure that the victims are not put in the dock themselves. Thank you very much.